Hello and welcome to the very special Business Standard Show on Labor Codes. We have here with us Ms. Sumita Dawra, former Secretary, Labor and Employment Ministry, and Mr. AK Bhattacharya, or AKB as we know him, Editorial Director, Business Standard. We'll begin by asking Ms. Dawra, who needs no introduction. She is a 1991 batch IAS officer from Andhra Cadre. She is a prominent voice in labor and trade issues. She's held prominent positions at state levels and the center. And more importantly, she's been associated with the labor codes that have made headlines recently. So Ms. Dawra, I will begin by asking you, why is it being considered a revolutionary move? How is it going to change things really?
A lot has been already said about the codes. They've been discussed in the electronic media everywhere. And we do understand that these are called big bang reforms in the labor sector and also very important for the economy. And like the Honorable Prime Minister had written in the social media, the biggest labor reforms to take place in India after independence. Now, that's a big thing. You see, the labor laws, many of them predated independence, and many of them soon after independence they were passed but needed amendments. So these are big bang reforms, revolutionary because they bring a lot of changes in the way business will be done and in the context of labor welfare. They reduce, of course, the multiplicity of acts in the country. 29 acts, labor acts have been codified into 4 labor codes. The multiplicity of authorities that will be enforcing these codes. So, in brief, it is very important for ease of doing business, for reduction in compliance burden, in the context of social security for labor and many other aspects related to labor welfare, in the way in which we have modernized the labor laws by bringing in technologies, skilling, many other aspects, making them on par with international labor regulations. Which is why we call them revolutionary, and we can expect revolutionary outcomes to the labor reforms.
Some commentators are saying that these are incremental. And they're saying incremental because they're saying many of the provisions, which of course they are revolutionary because they're bringing about dramatic changes in the labor codes, the labor laws in this country, but many of these changes were already done in the states. So if out of those 30 states, at least 25 states have already implemented them, now only the center has notified. So is it that revolutionary? Because investor would come to the state and say, I'm in Tamil Nadu, I'm already a woman can work at night. Something in Gujarat, something similar may have already been done. So the center doing it is of course a big step, but if the states have already done it, why should they be called revolutionary? I'm asking you this question specifically to understand from you that in your understanding of the way the labor laws operate in this country, since you had a ringside view of how they operate, do you think the centers doing it has made such a big difference while the states have already done them?
And this is a very interesting question, and during my tenure we worked a lot with the states to encourage them to bring in reforms. But we must understand that those reforms were in certain areas, let's say broadly about 8 to 9 areas. And while 27 states had brought in many interventions, not necessarily all the 9 areas, but yes, women working at night, many states had brought that in, compounding of offenses, or even increasing the threshold for layoff and retrenchment. Some of the states had done that. That was a very interesting development as well, because we were able to see how the interventions are working out. For example, women working at night, studies have shown that the states which allowed women to work at night, they were able to be more productive and they were able to add to the state domestic product. So all these interventions were like kind of learnings, cross learnings also for the states. But coming to the labor codes, there are a lot of things which have happened in the labor codes for the first time and which set a standard for the country. For example, the provisions related to occupational safety, health, working conditions. Now, safety provisions are not just limited to 7 sectors like in the past, but to all the sectors. Minimum wages being made a right, a statutory right, is a big thing. It's not now confined only to the 44 scheduled employments, or the state also had, carve-outs. Now, it's a right for all sectors. Timely payment of wages, it's not just confined to those earning up to 24,000, but for all. Similarly, the overtime regulations. Government of India, the union had about 75 hours in a quarter in over 3 months as the overtime regulation. But now this is being increased and the states also have the flexibility to increase. So in this way, plus the floor wages. The floor wages is a concept which comes in with the labor codes. The Government of India has already set up a advisory committee, a wage advisory committee, which is working on a floor wage. The floor wage will take into account living conditions. Living conditions will cover, gamut of areas, nutrition, housing, electricity, so on and so forth. So a living wage, which is a floor wage, below which no state can fix the minimum wage. So all these interventions are on par with what we see happening in other progressive countries as well, taking care of labor welfare while making them more productive. And this has been a feedback from industry that Indian labor needs to be more productive. So these are all interventions in that direction. Social security coverage for all, including unorganized sector. The gig and platform workers being given access to social security. These are huge interventions. Even women working at night gives a uniformity and a clarity that this applies to all the states, all the sectors. And it is now the responsibility of the employers that with the consent of the women, their safe working conditions are created for night shift. There were states which were struggling to bring in the provision for women working at night under the Factories Act, for instance. They had to come to center, ask for amendments. There was, a long process. But now it's very clear that women can work at night, and an engineer working in a steel plant in Jharkhand, for instance, it's a continuous process industry. She was not being given an opportunity to do the night shifts. Now she can do the night shifts. She's in line for promotions, for progression in career, so on and so forth.
That's right. Yeah.
Carrying AKB's question a little forward, how do you think it's all going to be implemented? Do you think it's going to be easy implementation, or do you see hurdles in the way?
I would not call them hurdles. I would rather say there are challenges and we have to meet those challenges. A lot of preparation has been done. In the last couple of years, we have seen prep work being done. The codes were passed by the center, by the parliament, and the rules had to be made. Center made its rules. There are certain provisions where the Government of India makes the rules. There are certain provisions where only the states make the rules under the codes. And there are certain provisions where both state and center have to make the provisions parallelly. So these provisions these rules have to talk to each other. They have to harmonize with each other. They have to agree with the spirit of the labor codes. And that is the prep work which was done more prominently in the last 2 years, where we made sure that the states make rules on all the sections on which they have to make rules. There are no gaps. Secondly, the states also understand each other, so that when an investor works across states, the investor has investments across states, he or she should not have to deal with a different set of rules for working conditions, for payment of wages, and so on and so forth. in the, across the states. So in that context, it's important that the states now pre-publish the rules. Once the center pre-publishes the rules, that also happens, and the gaps having already been taken care of, they are again sure that everything's been updated in accordance, in consonance with the codes. That apart, we are talking of single registration for the businesses, single license and single return. That will be possible if the databases are consolidated across the country at the central level and also the state, and between the center and the state. I do see that the national single window system could be one such model which could help. Also with the reverse integration, suppose somebody wants to register in Tamil Nadu or in Orissa, should also be seen as a registration in all the other central, agencies as well, wherever it's required. So the databases need to talk to each other, plus we are talking about digital compliance, digital inspections. We are ready with digital inspections. It's been happening since 2014 onwards, web-based system for the inspector to go and do the inspection. But this system has to improve, it has to become stronger. And the aspect of uploading the reports within 48 hours, the inspector's report has to be uploaded, apart from the randomized inspection. The compliance by the business entity will also be online. So businesses also have to be prepared to give digital compliances. And the inspector cum facilitator means a mindset change for our inspectors, and there also a lot of trainings have been happening. So these are all challenges, but we see things coming together, because the more outreach we do, the more communication we do, the more the workers become aware of their rights, the timely payment, for instance, or the minimum wages, for instance, the more the employers associations also have a more effective outreach with their own members on the responsibilities, on the preparedness. The more center and state coordination happens and the technology brings the databases together, these things should be taken care of over a period of time.
You were the Labour Secretary when much of the work, consultation that you talked about was probably taking place. So my question is, are you surprised that the reaction to these major changes in the 4 labour codes is little muted from the trade union side, in a sense that there was on 26th of November, there was some protests and all that, but we are not hearing the kind of mobilization of support or going in for a countrywide strike or a bandh of sorts. So why is it that the trade unions are a little muted, except maybe the left unions in the West Bengal and Kerala? You are seeing some mobilization of support. So what went on behind this muted response from the workers?
All right, that's interesting. We need to recognize that a lot of work was already happening. So this is not as if something happened suddenly. The Parliament had passed the codes in
2019.
Yeah, 4-5 years back. The rules were being formulated. A lot of meetings were happening when the rules were being formulated at the higher levels, at highest levels. Honorable ministers, who were the incumbent minister at that point in time, the present Labour minister, everybody had a lot of meetings, a lot of consultations with the trade unions, with the employers associations, and also we had one-on-one meetings with the trade unions. So everybody tried to be on the same page, and the states, the regional meetings which we had with the states, at that time we also invited industry, the trade unions in the regional meetings. Plus, the states also started doing reforms, as you pointed out earlier, compounding of offences, women working at night, and threshold aspect. Many of the states had relaxed the threshold for layoff and retrenchments, and nothing happened. It's not about people losing jobs. It's about the employer, about the businesses getting more flexibility to be able to scale up or scale down the operations. And the fixed term employment also is not to be misunderstood, was also when many states brought in the FTE, so this also became clear. So like I said, they were kind of pilots, and then probably the trade unions also see the orientation of the labor codes towards labor welfare, social security, their working conditions, safety. The appointment letter itself gives a sense of security, being able to be members, having the option to be a member of the EPFO or the ESIC. So now the notified areas of ESIC have been done away with, for example, and ESIC, the workers can get health benefits throughout the country, irrespective of whether the area is notified or not, pan-India. So all these aspects have to be seen as a whole, and I do my understanding would be that with all these conversations, prep work, and the 360-degree view which should be taken of the labor codes, I think that all these could be reasons why we have a very balanced and mature response. Plus, it's for the first time that the trade unions are getting a statutory recognition. 51% or more if they get the votes of the members, they are recognized as a negotiating union. If there's no union with 51%, then there's a negotiating council. So this statutory recognition was not there for the trade unions in the earlier act.
That's a big thing.
That's a big thing.
From trade unions to businesses, it's going to help businesses, all right, but they are also complaining about compliance cost. Do you think that's going to be a challenge also?
Actually, I believe that the compliance cost would actually come down, because like I pointed out, if there's an inspection and some kind of a violation is seen, the compliance is digital. There's an improvement notice which will be given rather than a show cause notice for a violation. Plus, the penal provisions have been brought down. The adjudication process has become faster. The dispute resolution process has become faster. There's a sunset clause to disputes. We are talking about single registration across all the provisions of all the acts. We are talking about single license. So this all brings down the cost of compliance actually. They may be talking about the aspect of wages, but then again we don't see, and in many conversations with the business associations, employee associations, we don't see any great increase in the short term also in the wages or the provident fund increase. We don't see any great increase for the businesses.
I think the industry, some industries at least, probably are worried because they realize that not so much as compliance cost, but actual cost going up. I mean, for example, if they have to make sure that the 50% of the wages will have to be in the basic pay and DNS allowance, if gratuity has to be provided for, even for the fixed term employee, if it works for more than 1 year. So all these things will probably add up to cost, and particularly the IT companies, whom we have talked to, they talk about cost going up by 5 to 10%. Now, these may be necessary costs, because if you are running a business, but what's your sense that is the industry unduly worried, or they are making the normal on the record noises only? Will these become a factor for not coming and doing business in a certain state or in this country? What's your assessment as somebody who has dealt with these laws?
I would say that these are genuine queries, and they need to be addressed. They need to be understood by the businesses. I would take an optimistic view of the labor codes, the reforms, because this is a very critical cost for business. And even if the wage rate or the wage related payments go up, provident fund, gratuity in the short run, you have to factor in the increase in the labor productivity, the morale of the labor, the reduction in the disputes related to wages, which will happen. Plus, Provident Fund gratuity would be part of their, expenses. So they will be able to take income tax rebates as well. And fixed term employees will also, we will see increase in their loyalty. Nowadays, when business is done and it's done globally, ESG becomes very important. How does a business deal with the natural environment, with the social aspects, which includes the social security for workers, and also with the governance aspects? So, ESG being so important, and with the reduction in compliance burden, the EODB which has been brought in, one would see businesses scaling up, having the freedom to scale up, and the FTE should actually be looked at people who help them scale up with their talent. For instance, a gems and jewelry business wants to engage talented people, but the contractual people were not the people they actually wanted, but now they can directly bring in through the fixed term employment, which leads to more productivity and so on and so forth. I would see it as a virtuous cycle.
Sure.
So you spoke about businesses scaling up, and you have taken an optimistic view. Looking forward, do you think on the whole it's benefiting, the labor codes are benefiting the employer more or the employees?
Again, I would not see this as a conflict between the labor and the employers. There is something big for both the sides. Like we've already discussed, social security becoming universal, and the wage-related reforms, and so on and so forth. From the labor welfare point of view, from the employer point of view, so many interventions to make it easier for them to do business. And now we have to be attuned, aligned with the times. We have to be aligned with the technology, with the changes which are coming in, maybe automation related, AI related, using technology to report on compliance, to file your returns, to get auto renewal of your license. And now auto renewal has become easier. Deemed licenses provision has come in. The validity of the auto renewal, validity of the licenses has gone up. So there's a lot of reform which is related to making it easy to do business, making it easy to ensure compliance within the supply chains, and to be able to also showcase at the global level your compliance to international levels of social security, labor welfare, and all these are very important sensitive issues when you do business internationally. So I would say that there's a lot for both labor and also for the businesses.
Economists point out two things. One, they say that what are the chances, they worry, what are the chances of the Inspector Raj coming back? Because, you have to issue appointment letter, you have to make sure that your basic wages are more than 50% of your total pay. You have to make sure that, gratuity is provided for. So, is there a chance while the notifications and the rules are out and the 45 days of period is over, when they actually become effective, will the inspector come back and start haunting the employers? So, that is one fear. And the second fear, not a fear, an apprehension, is that with this floor wages, will it distort the play of market forces in the wages scene sector? I mean, if the national minimum wages are set, it will essentially mean that some states may actually, which are in the cost of living index wise, a state like Tamil Nadu, for example, may say that the national minimum wages, which takes into account Bihar's wages. So Tamil Nadu employers might get away by paying wages which are probably lower than what they should have ideally paid in a state like Tamil Nadu. So, what's your view on that lack of flexibility on the wages thing with the advent of national minimum wages? And Inspector Raj, is that fear genuine or not? What's your view and assessment on that?
Yeah, see, anybody going through the labor codes and seeing the importance given to technology for reporting compliance would appreciate that the days of Inspector Raj are over, and actually they have been on the wane for quite some time. With a lot of oversight and people being very, very, aware. So, whether the basic wages are being paid, how much they are being paid, appointment letter has been issued or not, technology will take care of the compliance and of the reporting. That is where it's important that monitoring dashboards or monitoring databases also get consolidated. So, these are the changes which need to be brought in from the employer point of view, and that's where the government will also be guiding them better on how to report compliance digitally. And like I said, if a new violation is found, the inspector cannot go back to the premises. The compliance by the entity will be online.
So, the Inspector Raj fear is exaggerated.
Yes, so it will be again on Shram Suvidha. So, otherwise it's a violation. It's wrong for the inspector to go back. So, I do feel that with this entire code of wages, entire codes panning out, being implemented, we will see less and less inspector interventions unless they are in the nature of a facilitation. Similarly, when it comes to wages, the floor wages will define the minimum which is good for a living standard, taking into account the regional, geographic circumstances and the scaling levels. Now, states would definitely be expected to pay minimum wages which take care of living standards and also comply with what's happening internationally. Internationally, there's a lot of consciousness that the wages must match the, in case of any inflation, or they should also be able to address inequalities in the economic structure. So, as we progress, these are all aspects which are expected to happen, a minimum wage which takes care of living standards and labor productivity and so on.
Multinationals have often complained that while working in India, they face labor problems and it has come in the way. Do you think with this, the labor codes coming into play, will India become a better destination for multinationals to come in and invest?
See, in the context of whatever we've been discussing, definitely India becomes a more attractive investment destination. Though labor is one aspect when you look at the investment ecosystem. But all this, we used to often hear about the labor laws being burdensome. We used to often hear this from the businesses. So, that has been taken care of. Single registration, single return, single license, compliance is digital, lot of flexibility in hiring, in scaling up operations, if you have export orders which are seasonal, or the fixed term employment and so on and so forth. So, the 14 days mandatory notice before a strike, for instance. So, all these factors bring a lot of mental relief, very assuring for businesses. Plus, like I said, the labor welfare aspect takes care of the ESG aspect, which the businesses have to comply and show at the global level. The supply chains should be compliant with labor laws. Now we'll be doing an FTA with the EU. So we have to comply with a lot of things, when we do trade on a larger scale. So I think that this will be more attractive for businesses. Supply chains brings more predictability also for them, because minimum wages being very different across states was also, the interstate disparities were also a difficult thing for businesses to handle. But now there's a floor wage, they would know that there are certain labor codes which are harmonious, standardized, so should bring a more predictable environment.
I think we've completely run out of time, but last thing, which one do you think is the most important aspect in the labor codes that you think will really make a difference?
It's difficult to say, pick up one aspect. I would say that now we are talking about a lot of aspects which modernize the labor laws, whether it be social security or it be flexible working conditions, or it be about gig and platform economy, bringing in technology. So we have actually modernized our labor laws and made them comparable to the best anywhere. We've given that framework.
So that you think
I think that's very
that'll stand out.
Yes, absolutely. Modernizing the labor laws.
I
Yes,
have one
yes,
question
Givi.
to ask. What happens to different industry level wage boards? Now, do those wage boards get subsumed or do they get abolished under these codes? Or will those wage boards and different sectors, cement industry has a wage board, I mean, media industry has a wage board. Now, what happens to the future and fate of those wage boards under the new labor codes?
Now, that's a little technical question, but in case these wage boards were set up under acts which have been subsumed under the labor codes, we would expect that these boards would not be there then, and we have to follow the codes, and there'll be state advisory boards for wages, there's a national advisory board for wages. So these are the boards as per the labor codes which should function.
So we come to the end of a very, very exciting conversation on labor codes. Ms. Sumita Dawra has spoken about how this labor code is going to be big bang because of the way business will be done. There will be ease of doing business. How will implementation happen? She doesn't see any hurdle, but there will be challenges in the way, and probably businesses and the states and all the stakeholders will have to work it out. Thank you very much, Ms. Dawra, for coming to Business Standard and speaking to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.